everyone, it's Julia. Thank you so much for joining me today. I've been working on a new design for my spring lineup up in my little summer shop. For those of you who are new subscribers, I do have a little summer shop back up in Minnesota, and it's part of a flea market that's open on weekends. And I sell my products, and sweatshirts are always a really good seller no matter what time of year in Minnesota. And so I thought I would do a bright, springy design, spring summery design, and this is what I came up with. I'm going to be showing you step by step on how I create this, but just an overview. This is a reverse applique, and so the applique is stitched from the back, and then the sweatshirt is cut away from the front. And I did a striped quilting or striped quilting type of a design on a foundation piece for this, and I used an assortment of plaids, shirtings that I had picked up. Did the same thing on the top. This is a reverse applique, and then left it long so it's a tunic length, left the band on, but did cut up the vents on the sides just to give it that wiggle room and the comfort that we all love. Cut off the cuffs and added a ladder stitch with embroidery thread, and then also added just a little bit of detail with the same color embroidery thread right by the star. So I hope you enjoy this video. I'm going to be going into my voiceover mode. I'm starting with my foundation piece here, and I draw this star out on a piece of muslin. And I want to be able to see that star from both the front and the back, so I used a marker for this. My strips are cut in various widths, approximately 1.5 to 3.5 inches, and in varying lengths as well. And I'm just at my sewing machine, and I'm just laying these right sides together and just taking a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I want to make sure that my stitching goes beyond this star by at least a 1/2 inch. And then I just continue to go down my star, just making sure it's all covered. And I'm flipping it over. I have one more side here, one more part of the star to cover at this. And again, just finger pressing and then stitching. Giving it one final press and then flipping it over. I'm going to cut my applique out so that it's about a 1/2 inch beyond the stitching, or beyond the mark. Flipping it over, my sweatshirt is inside out, and just getting this nice and measured and straight. I want that point right at the top. Doing some pins, and then I will be stitching this right on the line. Stitching is all done, and I'm turning it right sides out, and I did a bobbin thread in white so you can see this star. The next step is just very carefully cutting this out. I'm using the Tim Holtz scissor for this, and it seems to work really well. Just getting that all cut out, and I love having a little bit of that sweatshirt showing on the edges, especially after it's washed a few times. For that neckline applique, I'm doing it much the same way, but not using that foundation piece. Just drew that triangle out, and then I will be stitching right on that again. Trimming the excess away, and then carefully cutting the top of it off. Here's my appliques, and you can use those appliques in other projects, and it's also fun to sometimes use them on the back side of this sweatshirt. I chose not to do that, but you can easily do it. Doing some deconstruction, cutting those cuffs off. And for this side seam now, I'm measuring about 3 inches up beyond the band, and then cutting right to that mark. And then cutting that seam completely out of there. Then I like to curve the bottom. Doing the same to the other side. I'm at my serger now, and I'm serging all the way around the bottom of this. I usually start with the back of the sweatshirt. But I wanted to show you how I do my inside and outside curves. Here's an outside curve. Outside ones are quite easy, but here's that inside curve. And I get that straight up against my guide, as straight as I can. And you see all those wrinkles? I serge right over the top of those wrinkles. And it just seems to work just fine. Now the outside curve, and that's easy. You just guide it right next to the guide. And now I'm just going across the bottom and then doing the other side. And now we're heading to the last inside curve, and again I'm just doing it as straight as I can with everything just right up against the guide, and then I serge right off that initial tail, serger tail there. And then I take this to my regular sewing machine and I stitch from the back side, just stitch that tail down. You can also take a needle and weed it back in, but when I do so many of these sweatshirts, it just seems like it's the easiest for me. And then just clip that off. And that's what it looks like. It's very finished off and neat. And I love this, the tunic sweatshirt where it has that wiggle room. I'm taking an embroidery, a tapestry needle with my embroidery thread, and I'm using 6 strands because I really want it to show up. Starting by hiding my knot, and then I just turning that top down so that there's no raw edges, and just doing a basic, I think it's called a ladder stitch. It's not quite a blanket stitch, but it's close, and just real easy, and it just has a nice detail around the cuff. I'm just adding the same little X's in the same color to tie it together and just add a little extra detail. I hope you enjoyed this. It was really simple and fun. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you have a chance to create. Bye for now.